Tell Savannah I love her. That's what Kody did. Matter of fact and detached, like he was checking something off a list. There was no call, no visit, not even a look in her direction. He sat across from Janelle and delivered what should have been a deeply emotional message, like it was her job to deliver it. And I thought, how does a dad say something like that and not feel the weight of it? Savannah wasn't angry or upset. She wasn't shutting him out. She was still open, still talking to him. But he didn't call. He didn't visit her. He just tossed it to Janelle like it was the next item on his agenda. In that moment, the truth was clear. This wasn't a father grieving over distance from his daughter. This was a man reciting a script, one he wrote to make himself look like the victim, while emotionally stepping away from the people he once claimed to love. Hi friends, I'm Aariaa, and welcome back to TLC Next Reveal. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, hit like, and comment down below, because I want to hear from you. Were those infamous COVID rules really about protecting the family, or were they just Kody and Robyn's reason to circle the wagons and shut everyone else out? For the more you reflect on what transpired, the more the cracks begin to show. It wasn't just social distancing, it was emotional distancing. One by one, the other wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, came to realize a painful truth. No matter how much they followed the rules, no matter how much they tried to do the right thing, they weren't really part of the family anymore. At least, not the family that Kody and Robyn were building. And the thing is, it wasn't a family. It was a fortress, built on double standards, cherry-picked rules, and emotional manipulation, brick by brick, until only two people were left inside. Let's talk about how it all started to fall apart, and how the story Kody and Robyn are sharing now is different from what we all saw. When the COVID rules were finally debated in the Brown family at last, it felt like a turning point. But what surprised people wasn't how prolonged or draconian the rules were. It was the fact that 3 out of 4 wives didn't even know the rules existed until months into the pandemic. Then, in the middle of an emotional discussion, Robyn casually says, "I've been doing this for 7 months." 7 months? The look on the other wives' faces said it all. Wait, what? Where did these rules come from? Why was Robyn the only one following them from the very beginning? And most importantly, why weren't anyone else given them? That single sentence shifted the entire atmosphere in the room. Suddenly, it wasn't about keeping the family safe. It was about keeping secrets. If this was such a united family, why was one wife privy to that information? Who was actually making decisions here, Kody or Robyn? And if it was all about health and safety, why were they not explained to everybody at once? This was not just about erasing groceries or isolating mail. It was about access. It was about control. And Robyn had both. It started making sense. This family plan was not designed for 5 homes. It was built to protect one, Robyn's. While the others were in a state of uncertainty, wondering if they could see their children or visit their spouses, Robyn had uninhibited access to Kody. She was already playing within the rules, because she was already part of the inner circle, and if you didn't belong in that circle, you weren't included in the plan. It's easy to criticize that all this was just caution, but if it was actually about health, why weren't regulations even written down in the first place? Why weren't they freely shared? Why were other wives told to feel unsafe or disobedient, when in fact, they were merely being kept in the dark? When Robyn admitted that she had been living by rules for 7 months, it wasn't pride it sounded like. It sounded like a muted confession, a confirmation of what many old fans had long believed. The rules weren't for safety, they were walls that kept Kody and Robyn apart from everyone else, guarded, privileged, and emotionally removed. If ever there was a moment that made apparent that loyalty meant nothing anymore, it was with Mary. Of all the wives, Mary did every single one of the rules, to a T. No visitors, no leaving the house, total isolation, wore the masks, stayed at home, did every single guideline, even when it meant separating herself from all of them. And yet, she still wasn't allowed to see Kody, not even once. So, what was the point of all that self-denial? Meanwhile, Robyn's nanny showed up and left the house every day. No issue. Eventually, only the rules were effective when applied to exclude a person. Janelle and Christine caught on to the double standard immediately. Janelle's sons, Garrison and Gabriel, were living their lives cautiously, responsibly. They were working, being careful. But Kody used their efforts as a reason to avoid Janelle's house altogether. The message was clear. It was never safety. It was control. Christine was unsafe, not because she disobeyed, but because she spent time with Janelle. That was all. Friendship was reason enough to banish her. It didn't matter that Christine was careful, respectful of the guidelines, or trying to stay within the family boundaries. She was cast out with barely a conversation. But Mary's situation, that was the most heartbreaking of all. She wasn't rebellious. She wasn't questioning Kody. She wasn't even asking for anything special. She just wanted to be seen. And when we visited her that weekend at the family reunion on Coyote Pass, you could see how intimidated she was to criticize. She made a wisecrack about the rules being Robyn's, and Robyn lost it. The atmosphere shifted immediately, and you could tell Mary regretted having spoken. That fear, that walking on eggshells business, wasn't because she wasn't safe. It had arisen out of having been excluded so long that even a trivial comment was threatening. Mary was merely attempting to stay in good standing. With whom? Kody would not even look at her, and Robyn simply was not going to give him up. That's what makes it so tragic. These women built their lives around a man who demanded obedience, oneness, and loyalty. But when they offered him all that, it was still not quite enough, because this system was not founded on fairness. It was founded on favoritism. And if you weren't Robyn, you weren't part of the narrative anymore. Now, let's talk about the double standard, because once you notice it, you can't help but notice it. Kody and Robyn made their house sound like it was coming under extreme lockdown. Mail needed to be sterilized, groceries sanitized, and guests needed to quarantine for days. But somehow, those very same regulations didn't seem to apply when their comfort was at stake. Take the nanny, for example. She came and went into Robyn's house every single day. And when Christine wanted to know, "What does the nanny do?" it wasn't sarcasm. It was genuine confusion. If Kody cared so much about exposure, why was a family outsider allowed in each day, but his own children were not? And then there was Dayton, Robyn's son from a previous husband. He was allowed to reside in a trailer on Robyn's property because he had trouble following the same rules that Kody was giving Gabe and Garrison hell about. But instead of being told to vacate, Dayton was accommodated. He was included. His presence was not taken as a threat. But Janelle's sons? Different story. When they weren't quite able to meet Kody's expectations, the response was cold. Kody told Janelle that they'd have to leave if she wanted him to come visit. No negotiating, no compromise, no compassion. And then Gabe's birthday. Kody did not come. He didn't even phone on my birthday. He did phone, but not to Gabe. It was regarding COVID rules. Business as usual. Gabe reached for the telephone, probably hopefully, maybe for a moment or two, thinking his dad remembered. But no, instead, he received disappointment. You could see in his face. He tried not to have it defeat him, but it did. Because it always hurts when someone you care about acts like you're not around. But here's the part that gets even harder to stomach. While Kody was evading his own kids, declaring them unsafe, he and Robyn were eating out, shopping, doing far riskier things than visiting Janelle's house. Even there was a time Robyn got pulled over by the police without a mask. So, where's the rule book? What about the rules, the isolation, the sanitizing? It became painfully clear. The rules didn't apply to everyone. They were selectively used to put a wall between Kody and whoever he wanted to bar. Kody told Christine that he couldn't come to her house because she looked at Janelle. He wouldn't come to Janelle's because her sons worked. And he didn't go to Mary's, though he never really gave a reason. But Robyn's house? He could sit there comfortably, like it was some kind of moral fortress, while everyone else was left in the cold. And here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. The rules were never about protection. They were about permission, and only 3 people had it: Robyn, her kids, and Kody. And now something strange is happening. Did you notice? Robyn, the very same woman who used to stand up tall and forceful, directing conversations and making demands, is now being shown as the modest, shy wife. Now she's modest on TV interviews, gently wringing her hands, talking in a whisper about how much she just wants peace in the family. But let's face it doesn't compute. If you've been watching Sister Wives from the beginning, then you already know Robyn was never timid. Assertive? Absolutely. Strategic? Absolutely. But shy? Absolutely not. She wasn't timid when she first arrived and started making demands, like demanding equal time with Kody before they were even wed. She wasn't intimidated when she sorted out a number of wedding dresses with him to choose from, something that no other wives ever did. And she sure wasn't intimidated when she insisted on going on that 11-day honeymoon right after they were wed, despite Christine just having given birth and having had a baby and being overwhelmed by a new baby. This was not a woman testing the waters into an established family. This was someone setting her own rules and expecting everyone else to adjust. Whether it was taking over the family gift exchange or calling Maddie out for leaving the church, Robyn was never quiet. She was vocal, emotional, and fully in control. And now we're supposed to believe she's the quiet one, just a soft-spoken wife caught in the middle? It doesn't add up. It resembles a wholesale rebranding. And let's be real, this transformation didn't take place overnight. It didn't stem from some overnight change or personal growth. It came about as a result of the backlash. Season upon season of audiences criticizing the blatant favoritism, the double standards, and the emotional manipulation. Suddenly, Robyn started sounding in a different light, a due, confident, commanding voice. Now we see someone sweetly wringing her hands, complaining about peace and family harmony. But that is not a personality change. That is image management. Because if you listen to Kody talk of her now, it's difficult to keep a straight face. He continues to call her sweet, innocent, shy. And it sounds more like PR spin than admiration. Because if Robyn is being framed as the quiet one who just craves harmony, then everyone else, Christine, Janelle, even Mary, must be the problem, right? But here's the thing. We've seen the footage. We've heard the tone. We've watched the eye rolls, the power plays, the shifting alliances. Robyn has never been shy about getting what she wants. What we're seeing now isn't vulnerability. It's control, wrapped in a softer, more palatable package. A show designed to get us to forget what we already know. And maybe the saddest part? For some, it's working. But not here. Not on this channel. Because here's the thing that happens when you try to script the story for too long. You forget that the audience has a memory. We saw it all go down. And now, in the later seasons, Kody has completely flipped his script. Now he's the one who's misunderstood. He says all he ever wanted was unity, connection, love. But somehow, it just slipped through his fingers. He's trying to rewrite history with tears in his eyes and emotional interviews. But the truth? The truth was documented on film. Now he claims his wives betrayed him, that they withdrew from him, that his children lost respect for him. But where was that concern when Christine was sleeping on a couch while he visited? Where was that paternal love when he wasn't there for Isabel's spinal surgery because he said it wasn't safe to travel due to COVID? And yet, days later, he's seen out running errands, eating at restaurants, breaking all the same COVID rules he used as an excuse for missing his own daughter. Robyn says she just wants peace, that her heart is breaking because the family is falling apart. But let's rewind. She wouldn't participate in family gift exchanges because she stated the other kids weren't safe. She isolated her children. She didn't welcome Kody to visit his other children, unless cameras were around and she could remind him indirectly, "You should call your kids." Even then, she added a small escape clause. The phone works both ways. That little statement, it provided Kody with precisely what he desired, a reason not to call. That's not neutrality. That's enabling. This wasn't passive silence. This was active separation. Robyn drew invisible lines around her part of the family and justified favoritism with protocol and worry. She was holding things together, she argued, but in reality, she was protecting her bubble, even if the rest of the family imploded. And Kody? He followed that blueprint. He stopped showing up unless he was being adored. If you questioned him, you were being disrespectful. If you disagreed with him, you were being unsafe. If you didn't obey, you got kicked out. He even began calling the kids he had with Christine and Janelle your kids when he addressed them, as if they were never fully his unless they lived in Robyn's home. They loved him unconditionally. That's what makes this new version of the story so hard to accept. Because now, suddenly, Kody and Robyn are painting themselves as the ones who were hurt the most, the ones who tried the hardest, the ones who were wronged. But if you've been watching for the last 2 decades, you know that's not the story we saw. This narrative shift feels like it's gambling that we've forgotten the details, the procedures that were delayed, the birthdays that were missed, the kids who had to endure rejection in front of the world, the wives who followed every single rule and still couldn't stop hearing, "You're not enough." And now they're being told they were the problem the whole time. The emotional damage here is staggering. Relationships destroyed, trust broken, children estranged from their father, wives who gave up everything and were left with broken hearts. And yet the two who remain in the middle, Kody and Robyn, want us to believe none of it was their fault. So now it all comes down to one question. Do we believe this image they're selling now? Or do we believe what we saw with our own eyes season after season? Because for me, the tears are a little too late and the apologies are a lot too rehearsed. Let me hear in the comments, do you believe this new version of the story? Or do past actions speak louder than the cleanup effort we're seeing now? Because here we are, years of heartbreak, drama, and family breakdowns, all coming down to one simple truth. Who really gets to tell the story of the Brown family? Is it Kody and Robyn, rewriting the past to fit a more comfortable narrative? Or is it the wives and the kids who were left behind, whose voices were silenced, ignored, or dismissed for far too long? We've seen the footage. We've heard the arguments. We've seen the forgotten birthdays, the threats whispered in secret, the confinement of wives who gave up all they knew and were still told they were too much or not enough, Robyn's understated presence, Kody's wounded husband act. They're not snapshots of reality. They're part of a script, one designed to help us forget just how deep the wounds go. But we haven't forgotten. We recall the decisions, not errors, that scarred this family. So here's my challenge to you. Keep watching, keep asking questions, and above all, keep listening to every voice, not only the loudest, not only the most rehearsed, because the true story It isn't merely what's presented in front of the camera, it's all that's whispered, held back, and left unspoken between the lines. Thanks so much for spending this time with me today. I'm Aariaa, and you're watching TLC Next Reveal. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Who do you think is telling the truth? And what do you think needs to happen next for this family? Until next time, stay curious and never settle for the surface.